What's up guys, my name is Michael, I'm an ex-photographer and look what I have here. I got the brand new Fuji X-T3 and actually I'm not really excited about its release. And the reason that I'm not excited is that I have this camera for at least 1 or 2 months now. The reason that I got it so early is that Fuji asked me to do a project with this camera. So chances are that you will see or have already seen photos that I've taken with this camera for the release of this camera. We also made a video of that photo shoot so that you can get a look behind the scenes how these photos were made. Yeah, I'll link to that video in the description, but let's talk about this camera right now. So as you can see from outside, the X-T3 looks pretty much the same like the X-T2. So they cannot be distinguished easily, which doesn't really matter. I like the design of the X-T2 a lot, and why change things that are good? There has been done a lot that you cannot see from the outside. Now, regarding all the things that I'm telling you, keep in mind that I don't have a data sheet for this camera and I didn't get any information. So all I'm telling you are things that I found out by myself. Alright? So some of these things might actually not be true, or I might miss the point a little bit. But anyway, I think this video will give you a lot of information about this camera. Now actually I have 4 of these right now, 3 in black and 1 in silver. So it depends on what you like, and I'm going to show you all of them so you can get an idea of what they look like. I actually do prefer the black ones, but it's a matter of taste, and I like that you get the choices. And I think a lot of people will like the silver model as well. Now let's talk about the body. The obvious thing is that this body has the same tilt screen like the X-T2 has. So it tilts this way, and it tilts downwards, and it tilts to the side if you want to do some portrait shots, or if you're on a tripod and you want to have a look from above when you're in portrait mode. So you cannot do any selfies. It's not that usable for vlogging, although we're going to talk about the autofocus and face detection and stuff, which will change what I just said. Another thing that stayed the same, which is good, is that you get dual SD card slots on the X-T3. What you will notice as well when you look at the top of the camera is that your new base ISO will be 160 instead of 200. But we're going to get to that later in more detail. One more thing about the display, it does tilt the same, but it is now a touchscreen, which we all expected, right? So you can use it the way you can use it on the XH1, which means that you can use it for focus and your quick menu as well. And of course, you can also use the touchscreen in playback mode to swipe through the images, zoom in, zoom out, stuff like that. With the X-T3, you get a new vertical grip. They have changed the shape, and they have also changed the way it connects to the camera a little bit. So your old X-T2 grip will not fit the X-T3, and which is fine. If you need a grip, or if you're gonna sell your X-T2, you can sell it with the grip. And if you like to keep it, you might want to get another grip for the X-T3 as well. You can charge your batteries inside the grip just the way you used to on the X-T2. And just like with the X-T2, the battery which is in the camera will not charge when you connect the charger to your grip. While we're talking about charging and connectivity, your X-T3 now has a USB-C port, and it has a headphone jack, which will be a pleasant surprise for all of you doing video with your cameras, right? So you can now monitor your audio while you're recording. That's a good thing. While we were talking about batteries, charging and stuff, the batteries are still the same. So you can use your NP batteries on all your Fuji cameras without any problems. Yeah, I mean, some people complain about the battery life, and yeah, I must say, I've been using these cameras with the vertical grip and they last all day long. I haven't had any issues or complaints, but I cannot give you a comparison on battery performance to the X-T2 because yeah, I would need to monitor that, but I'm feeling the battery performance has increased, but yeah, someone else needs to check that. Regarding the weight, I didn't weigh the camera, but it feels pretty much the same. There cannot be a huge difference. But you will have to check that in the technical specs. Now that it's released, you can read through that easily. Okay, let's go through technical stuff on this X-T3. As I told you, the base ISO is 160. It has a new processor. You can really feel that when you use the camera because it is so responsive and so fast, and the autofocus is just a whole new thing. There are face detection autofocus points, actually 425 of them all across the sensor, and you can use them even in AFC mode. There are no new film simulations, at least now, but just to remember, I'm using a pre-production model which does not have the final firmware on it, so maybe there will be new film simulations, but at least for now I don't have any of them. Yeah, doesn't matter, I don't miss anything. Talking about autofocus, the autofocus now can track your eyes, and this works really well. It's really sticky. It's hard to lose focus on the eyes with this camera. I have to do some more testing, but the things that I have done with it so far are really impressive. But the coolest thing about the face detection and the eye detection especially is that the eye detection is now also available in video mode. And on the XH1 it's only available in photo mode. So you get the face detection in video, but you don't get the eye autofocus in video. And you get that on the X-T3 right now, which is really a good thing, and I'm looking forward to use that quite often. One thing about the electronic viewfinder, as you know, I don't have any technical specs on the camera, especially not on the viewfinder, but to me it seems to be even a little more clearer than the viewfinder on the XH1, which is an excellent viewfinder as well. Even the viewfinder on the X-T2 is excellent, but yeah, it just seems a little more, yeah, clearer to me. I'm quite excited to see what the actual specifications of that viewfinder is, but yeah, it feels better. Maybe it's the refresh rate, it's the resolution, or it's a combination of both. I'm not quite sure. Now let's talk about the sensor. The only specs that I have on the sensor is the settings that I found in the menu of the camera. Now the largest resolution that I can set up is 26 megapixel. So we have a little more resolution, which is obviously not that much compared to the 24 megapixels we had on the X-T2, but there's a little increase. But the sensor technology must have changed a lot because you get almost no rolling shutter. It's really just a tiny bit of rolling shutter. So the readout must be really fast. And this sensor allows you to shoot almost blackout free. So the blackout time has been reduced drastically. And especially if you use the highest frame rate of the X-T3, which is 30 frames per second, Yeah, you heard right, 30 frames. You're not gonna see any blackout. The 30 frames per second are only available when you use the electronic shutter, and the 30 frames per second will give you a 1.25 crop factor on your focal length. So you're only reading out the inner part of your sensor, which decreases your field of view and your resolution. But hey, 30 frames per second is something that you're gonna like a lot if you shoot action, sports, or kids. Or what I did when I shot the parkour, the free runner, you will be really excited what you can get with 30 frames per second. While we're talking about the frame rate, if you reduce the frame rate to 20 frames per second, you don't have a crop factor. So you can shoot 26 megapixel frames at 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter. If you disable the electronic shutter and use the mechanical shutter, you're gonna be at 11 frames per second, which is still plenty. And I really like that I can choose between continuous low and continuous high on the drive setting of the camera, that I don't have to change that setting in the menu all the time. Okay, we were just talking about so many things that the X-T3 has. One thing that it doesn't have is in-body image stabilization. So no IBIS on the X-T3, which means that you will need to stabilize your camera just like you used to do with a gimbal or tripod or glide cam or whatever you like to use. Which is not a big deal, but yeah, I got so used to the image stabilization on the XH1 that honestly, I really hoped for a stabilized sensor, but yeah, the way it looks right now is that it really seems to be separated. So you need the XH1 for handheld video, and the XT series seems to be optimized for photography and for action photography, sports photography. It makes sense to separate the two systems with one feature, and yeah, I think it needs to be that way. Okay, what else do we have? We can record in 10-bit resolution for video, which is a great thing. Especially if you like to do color grading in post-production, you can record 10-bit. And by the way, you can record 10-bit in 4K 60 frames per second. Your highest bitrate will be 400 megabit, and I've tried that. 400 megabit is crazy. You're filling up cards like nothing. It's quite interesting though that Fuji gives you that, because you know, other camera manufacturers also do it, so it's good to have it. But honestly, you should test that before you use it in a project, because it's gonna eat up all your cards like nothing. Yeah, what else do we have? We can record to SD card in 420 and HDMI in 422. You can choose between long GOP and all intra, which is a good thing. You can choose between H.264 and H.265, and I suggest you also do some tests before you use that, because my computer really doesn't like to edit video material in H.265. It's getting so slow that you cannot use it anymore, so I'm still recording in H.264 for that reason. But it's another thing that I really appreciate, that Fuji now gives you these options, and of course for the future, or if you have a more powerful computer like I will need to have soon, then you will be happy about the H.265 video recording option in the X-T3. Another great thing for video is that you have zebras, and you can set up the zebras, so you can choose at which level they should show up. Yeah, of course you get the tally lights on the front and in the back, just like I have them now on the XH1, which show me that I still am recording right now. You can shoot vlog, of course, internally, and you get a super fast autofocus while recording video. Yeah, so these are the things that I noticed while using the X-T3 for, I think I have it now for 5 or 6 weeks now, and I have shot around 4 or 5 or 6,000 images. I'm not quite sure, I might have to check, but at least 4,000 images and a lot of video. And yeah, it seems like you know this camera once you get it in your hands, but at the same time you're really surprised that it's like a new camera. So you know how to use it, it feels the same. So if you're used to your X-T2 or your X-H1 or your X Pro 2, whatever it is, it won't feel like switching to a new camera, because it's basically the same camera that you already have. And it just got better. It got better, it got a lot faster. The autofocus is a complete new thing. You'll be really surprised about how fast the autofocus on this system is. So this video was just a little introduction to the X-T3, and I will do a more detailed hands-on video for you guys to show you what this camera can do. I will show you some video example footage, some autofocus footage, so that you can appreciate what this camera really can do. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great day. Go out shooting, save some money, and hopefully I will see you on the photokina booth, because as you might have seen on my channel, I'm speaking there for Fuji about my road trip that I did with the X-H1, and I will also talk about my experiences with the X-T3 for the pre-release photo and video shooting stuff. That's a long word. Anyway, thanks. Have a good day. See you soon, guys. Goodbye.